Yes, I am a transgender woman. I was assigned male sex at birth because I was born with a penis, but I've always been female. I wasn't born a boy and changed into a girl. I've always been female. Gender isn't determined by what parts you have between your legs, and quite frankly, it's nobody's business. Patrick, I told you not to ask. Gender is in your heart, your soul, your mind. 40 years ago, I didn't have internet, really any other resources. I had 2.5 channels on TV. I did not have the words to articulate how I felt. In fact, I didn't hear the word transgender until I was in my 30s. I just knew I felt at peace wearing my mom's clothes and my sister's clothes. I couldn't tell you who I was, but I could tell you who I wasn't. I didn't fit into what was expected of me as that young boy. This is my favorite picture. My sons, Alex and Andrew, were born very early, very tiny, and very sick. After 3 months, I was finally able to hold them together for the first time. I didn't know it would be the last time, as Andrew passed away 2 weeks later. Both my boys taught me to appreciate each special moment, to live each day fully and without regret. Although I've seen 1,000 pictures of me over the years, it was this photo in 2012 that brought me to sobs. For the first time in my life, it all made sense. I made sense. This was the first time I saw me looking back. And it was here on this beach in North Carolina that I finally found the courage to say the words to myself, I am transgender. When I started to come out one by one, I learned that when you're real with people, you get real in return. And when you're vulnerable with people, you get vulnerability in return. When you'd have to work so hard swimming against the current that is holding you deep in your closet, you can invest that energy in the relationships you're in. And those relationships become stronger, deeper, more meaningful. One day around the time of my transition, my 7-year-old son and I were playing basketball on our front drive. 2 of his buddies drive their bikes by, and they stop and are looking at us, and Alex saw them and picked up his ball and walked over with full conviction, said, she's my daddy. And he teaches me more daily about acceptance and unconditional love than I could teach him in a lifetime. Some friends left, but many stayed. A bunch of guys got together regularly for a monthly movie night. They held a meeting after my transition to see what are we going to do, because we call it Guys Movie Night. The next month, I got an email that said Guys Plus One Movie Night. We still have movie night. It takes zero effort to tell somebody you're welcome here, you belong here, you're loved. Transgender people are disproportionately underemployed. Discrimination in the workplace is very high. I feared I'd lose the work I'd love so much, but I was surrounded with people who were truly business into care. After my transition, my professional relationships thrived. I am more engaging and confident than ever. I was baptized Catholic. When I asked my bishop if our family could continue practicing our faith the way that we always had, he said, our church teaches about being open, welcoming, kind. But we're people and we don't always get it right. But I will always be kind to you. When you give people the chance to do the right thing, they almost usually do. When you give people a chance to be kind, they almost usually are. How many of you have ever had to prove their gender when applying for a driver's license, insurance, healthcare, passport? I can't tell you how many times I've had to do that. Now, how do you suppose one does that standing in line at Passport Canada? Fortunately, most governments in Canada now agree that one shouldn't have to drop their pants to get ID that matches their true gender. When you choose to live authentically as a transgender person, your options become limited. Where you can work, where you can live, where you can travel. Homosexuality is illegal in many countries, and they don't make distinguish between transgender and being homosexual. When I got my ID, I got many of my options back, and even my car insurance rates went down. Yep, on that day, I became a better driver, statistically speaking. All fights for human rights seem to come down to the washroom. People use fear and the need to protect the rest of you from people like us. We'll get back to the pictures. I can just talk longer than my 20 seconds now. It's the same fear that was once used to keep people of color using the washrooms and fountains. The only thing that's different is the sign above the door. Fear can hold great power over you if you let it. Fear can protect you from harm, it's true, but fear is also debilitating. It can keep you from trying new foods, visiting new countries, fear of falling in love. I recently found myself single for the first time in 20 years, and I found myself a single woman for the first time in my life, and I found myself on this thing called the Tinder. You ever hear of it? Now, I consider myself a very confident person, but thrown into the dating scene, all those insecurities come crashing back with the weight of 1,000 broken hearts. The hardest part of my journey has been finding self-acceptance, finding validation from within, to live not what the world expects of me, but who I am. Because self-acceptance leads to self-love, which leads to self-determination. And I was finally able to love my true self. Only then I could love the people in my life the way they deserve. And then I found someone who taught me I was worthy of being loved. When you can be who you are, you're meant to be, you not only survive, you and the people around you thrive. My journey brought me to places like this spot at the table, where I gave testimony to support Bill 16 that would recognize transgender people and their rights under Canada's Human Rights Act. If you find yourself at the table, ask whose voice isn't there and who should be, and then make sure that voice is there with you. Because if you're not at the table, you're usually on the menu. But I'm on the right track now. My journey is full of love, kindness, happiness that I never thought was possible. I follow the tracks wherever they lead me, and I look forward with great hope and anticipation. When you can bring your whole self to your work, your faith, your role as a parent, a partner, a friend, a sibling, when you don't have to work so hard to hide who you are, everyone benefits. You become more productive and more fun to be around. The people around you are happier. I used to think being me would be a barrier in my life, but I have found endless opportunity. I don't know what my future will bring, but I found peace and happiness today. And it's true, I still have fears. I still cry tears. But whatever telling the world or a parliament that who I am is who I am. Stand up for each other. When you find your courage to be true, you inspire others to be true. Take the time to get to know people who are different than you. Stand up for each other. Stand with each other. Amplify those voices that need to be heard. Let's be courageous together, because when enough of us are courageous together, we can change the world.